channel. In this video today, I'll be showing you how to make a simple paperback skirt. Enjoy the video. This is just the sketch of what the paperback skirt will be looking like. Excuse my drawing, I really tried my best here. So it's going to have a frill at the top, right? The frill is going to be the same fabric as the main skirt, okay? It's also going to have these belt loops on either side, and it's going to consist of a belt, right? So that's basically the skirt. So on my plan, I'm going to be cutting out a frill. I'm going to cut out 2 belt loops. I'm going to cut out the waistband and the main skirt. Okay. So these are the measurements that you are going to need. You're just going to need your waist measurement, mine is 36, your hip measurement, and the skirt length. Okay. So for the waistband, it's going to be the waist circumference, okay, plus 5 inches. So my waistband, the one I'm going to cut out, is going to be 41 inches long, and it's going to be the desired width. Mine is 2 inches times 2 plus 1 inch. So 2 inches times 2 is 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So it's going to be 41 inches long and 5 inches wide. Okay, right. For the frill, the length of the frill is going to be the waist measurement times 2, which is 36 times 2, and the total is 72 inches. Okay, and the width, mine I want it to be just 1 inch wide, okay, not very long. So it's going to be that 1 inch times 2 plus ½ an inch sewing allowance. Okay, so it's going to be 2.5 inches wide, and then the belt loops are just going to be 2 inches by 5 inches. Okay, let's get into what we need for doing the skirt. Okay, you're going to need a bigger fabric, which is determined by your hip measurement. Really measure your hip measurement and the skirt length, and you get roughly how much you need for the main color. Okay, and you are also going to need a contrasting color. This I'm going to use for the belt as well as the waistband and the loops. Okay, you're going to need a zipper. I'm going to attach a zip at the back of the skirt. I'm going to need my tape measure. I'm going to need the chalk, my pins, a pair of scissors, okay, matching thread, and I'm going to use this fusible interfacing for the waistband. So this is my main skirt, and this is the length, which is 26 inches. Okay, if I fold back 2 inches, which is going to be my hem allowance, let me put a mark there. Okay, that's going to be my hem on that mark there. So if I measure from there to the end here, I'm going to have 24 inches. Okay, so 24 inches minus ½ an inch seam allowance up to here when I join with the waistband will give me 23.5 inches. Okay, so the other 2 inches to make 25 is going to come from the waistband, because my waistband is going to be 2 inches wide. So that's the main skirt length, and the width, as you can see, right, is 27 inches. Okay, right. How did I get 27 inches? My hip measurement is 50 divided by 2, it gives me 25. Okay, 25 is here. If I add 1 inch sewing allowance, I get 26. Okay, and then 1 inch ease. So that's how I came up with 27. And this is the waistband. Okay, right, as you can see, my waistline is 36, right? 36 divided by 2 is going to give me 18. Okay, right. Okay, and if I add 1 inch sewing allowance, it's gonna give me 19 here. And then the 2 inches are for the welt, the buttonhole flap that I'm going to put at the back. Okay, those are the 2 loops. Okay, those are the 2 loops. That is the frill. Okay, which is double my waistline. As you can see, it's quite longish. Okay, I'm just going to be folding it in half like that, put a gathering stitch here, and then attach it to the waistband, as you are going to observe during the sewing. Okay, and then finally, that's just the interfacing already cut to be on the waistband and the belt. Okay, right, so that's that. So this is the center back. My skirt is only got 1 seam at the back, so I'm going to start by sewing here up to there to leave the allowance for the zip. So that's what I'm going to do. Just make a 1 inch sewing allowance there for the zip. Okay, like that. Okay, next stitch. Once that stitch is done, and I have left here for the zip, okay, and as you can see, the next thing I'm going to do is just to do 2 rows of gathering stitch, okay, at the top here. Okay, okay, once the zip is in place like that, you're going to hold your main skirt like that, okay, in order to mark the midpoint of the skirt here. Okay, make a very bold mark there. Okay, if possible, just open it a bit and really make a big mark. Right, that's the center front. Okay, now you're going to fold it again to mark the side, which are going to act as the side seams of your skirt. So you fold it in half again like that, okay, and then you mark here. Okay, make sure the marks are really visible. Okay, mark that side and you mark inside as well. Right, okay, so our skirt is going to be looking like that. Okay, right, that's the back, center back, that's the side, and that's the front, midpoint of the front of our skirt. Okay, once that is done, we put it aside, and now we are working on the waistband and frill. Okay, For the frill, you fold in like that in half, okay, and just stitch here both ends, okay. Once that is done, you're going to snap that corner here, right, and then fold it in like that the other way around. Don't worry about the corner here, it's not supposed to be very pointy, so you can leave it like that, okay. Once that is done, your frill is folded in half, okay. Give it a good press and then go ahead and make 2 rows of gathering stitches on here, okay. So that's what I'm going to do now. So if you change your setting to gathering stitches, okay. Once you've put your 2 rows of gathering stitch on the frill like what I've done, you need to fold it in half, okay, and mark the midpoint, okay. Make sure the markings are very bold, right. So that's the midpoint of the frill. Then we are going to now work on the waistband, okay. So this is our original waistband, okay, which was 5 inches wide and 41 inches long, okay. So what I did was cut it in half, slice it in half like that, as you can see, and then I attached interfacing on that other half, okay. So what I'm going to do is mark 5 inches from the edge, one edge of the waistband, okay, like that. I'm going to use a pen to mark so that you can see it, right. So the mark is there, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do, bring that end to that mark, okay, right, so that I can mark the midpoint of my waistband, okay. So I'm going to mark again here with the pen on that fold line, right. So I'm going to be matching this midpoint with the midpoint on the frill, okay. I'm going to be doing the same thing on the other half of the waistband, okay. Okay, so you measure 1/2 inch from that end, okay, and mark, right. You see that mark which is in chalk there and in pen on that side, okay, and this side, that's 5 inches, okay, right. You get your frill, okay. This is the midpoint of our frill. You are going to match, okay, let me draw a line so that it continues to there, okay. So that's the midpoint all the way to here, okay. So you are going to match that midpoint with that one, right, and attach it there in pin. Okay, and then you get the end of the frill and you match it with that point here, okay. Right, get the end of the frill that side and match it with the mark here and pin. So now I'm going to be pulling the gathering stitches to match with the waistband from that end where the pin is to that end. I'm going to be pulling that frill to match with the waistband. Okay, now I've gathered the frill, leaving half an inch on that side, okay, past the midpoint to 5 inches before the end here, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get the other half of the waistband, okay, and sandwich the frill like that. Okay, sandwich the frill, stitch here half an inch, okay, and then half an inch up here, right, all the way to the end. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to stitch here all the way, sandwiching the frill inside the 2 layers of the waistband. Okay, so now after stitching, we're opening the sandwich again. There we go. And the frill is gonna be exposed now like that. Okay, that's going to be the top of our waistband. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice press, okay, so that we can have a nice standing waistband like that. Okay, right, so I'm going just to go ahead and press it. Right, that's our waistband now pressed. Okay, so you look for the midpoint again there, you remember that midpoint, okay, and put a pin rather so that you can see it from outside, right there. Okay, that's the midpoint. So you bring that point, the end of the waistband, to that point so that you can mark the side. The reason why you're marking the side is that's where you're going to position the belt loops. Okay, so you also come this way, bring it so that it meets that one, and then you mark, you also mark there because you're going to put your belt loops on either side. Okay, so once you've done that, you put that on the side and go ahead and make those belt loops. To do the belt loops, you simply fold them in half, sew them along, and then turn them inside out. Okay, like what I'm going to be doing now. Okay, once you have stitched the loop and turned it inside like that, bring the seam to the middle, okay, and then turn in about 5 millimeters inwards like that. Okay, about 5 millimeters. It's quite delicate, but okay, with the seam in the center like that. The next thing I'm going to do is just going to give it a good press. Okay, I leave the other side like as it is, just that top. I'm going to give it a press, make sure it's nice and flat. Now my belt loops are ready. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is with the folded in end here, not the raw one, I place this on the mark adjacent to that mark here on at the end there and pin it in place. Okay, pin this other one in place as well. Okay, once that is done, I'm just going to top stitch right at the edge here. Okay, once that is done, it means that is going to be falling free onto there, and I'm going to join it to the rest of the waistband facing downwards. Just watch what I'll be doing. Okay. Once that is stitched in place like that, I'm just going to go ahead, you see, and join it together with the waistband and pin it in place like that. So when I join the waistband to the skirt, we're just going to end up having a loop there for the belt. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the other one. Now we are joining the main skirt now to the waistband. We turn it to the right side like this, okay? And this is our waistband. These are the sides, okay? This is supposed to fall on the center back. So what you do is you take that end, okay? It's supposed to be on the center back like that, okay? So what you do is put it there, okay, and pin it in place. Right, and then we've got this as the side. You look for the mark where you put the side. There it is, okay? See that mark there? You match it with the loop here, okay, like that. Then you pin it in place as well. Okay, go around. This is supposed to be center front, okay? So you match the center front with the center front of the skirt which we marked here, okay? So you match it with that. Okay, this is the side with the loop, and then it's going to be matched with the side seam, side mark here on the skirt, which is right there, okay? Finally, that's the center back, that mark, okay, and it is also the end of our frill here. So we're going to match that with that end of the skirt right here, okay, like that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is pull the gathers of the skirt to match with the waistband all the way around, okay? Match this, all this hanging loose to match with the waistband, okay? Before I can just sew and join it to the skirt. Okay, so that's the skirt now matched with the waistband. I've pulled the gathers here, so I'm going to start joining it. I'll start from here, okay? So I'll start stitching from from the intersection with that stitching line going up there, 1/2 inch all the way around, okay? Right, now the puzzle is almost getting to be solved. The next thing I'm going to do now is just to fold 5 millimeters in here, okay, and pin in place. Pin the waistband in place like that, okay. It's very easy to fold because that's the place where the interfacing is being fused, okay. Right, as you can see, that's the right side of my skirt, okay, and that's the wrong side. When I get to this end, okay, this end here, see that I'm going to fold here, right, measure about 2 inches away from the edge of the skirt and stitch right there, okay. Watch what I'm doing. That off, right, cut off the corner, right, then I'm going to stitch 5 millimeters up to the end, to the edge here, okay, like that. Okay, again snap the corner, right. Once that is done, turn it inside out. Bring the corners out like that. Then I continue as from before, just folding in 5 millimeters here and pinning it down. Right. Once that is done, okay, I'm going to go ahead and edge stitch the waistband in place, right, and I'm going to put a buttonhole here, okay, and then attach a buttonhole inside so that when I'm wearing my skirt it's going to be looking like this, okay, it's going to be looking like that. With the, I'll put a pin here in place so you can see. Right. So it's going to look like that with the waistband, this flap here inside, okay. I'll show you when I'm done doing that. And the next thing is just going to be the hem, okay. As I said, the total length of my skirt is 25 inches, right, so I'm going to measure from here, okay. My 25 inches is here, so I'm going to make 3 inches hem, okay. Okay, now for the belt, this is just half of the belt here, and I've joined it here with the other part which is flowing over. My table is not too big to spread the whole belt, so I'm going to show you how to design just half the belt. That's what you're going to do with the next the other half, okay. So I'm going to pin it in place since the fabric is very to make it stay in place because it's very thin, okay. So pin that in place. Now this is the center back. From the center back I measure 9 inches, okay. this is where it's going to meet the side seam. Okay, now our loop here, okay, it's about 1.6 inches. Okay, right, so you're going to measure 1.6 inches from there so that our belt can fit into the loop there. Okay, so we measure 1.6 inches and mark. Okay, measure 1.6 inches going back. Right, so when you cut out the belt, okay, you're leaving half an inch or to 1 inch seam allowance, leaving half an inch seam allowance. Make sure you've got 1.6 there. Okay, and then as you go towards the end, you can make it wider. Okay, I'm going to make it wider until I'm going to be using the full width of the belt, and then I'm going to make a diagonal line like that. So it's basically going to be becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, right, like that. Okay, so that's how I made the belt. So from here all the way to there, that's half the belt, and then that goes to that end. So when I stitch, I start from here coming in, okay, to about 2 inches away from the midpoint, do the same, and then bring both ends through that gap that I'm going to leave here. Okay, let's get on with the belt. And here is my finished skirt. Okay, that's the front.